She pushed him from the stairs. Taehyung screamed Jungkook's name, and his scream echoed through the whole house. Then she immediately went from there. Jungkook, when someone called me, I went downstairs. Almost every guest is here. They are waiting for us. Then I talked with some of my business friends. While talking, I heard someone screaming my name. I recognized that voice, and it was my baby. Without wasting any time, I went towards the living room. But when I saw the scene, my whole world crashed down. My love, my baby was lying on the floor with a pool of blood around him, and he was holding his stomach. I immediately went to him and took him in my embrace. I placed his face on my chest while crying. He was also crying. Taehyung, Jungkook, our baby, please save our baby. I immediately picked him in bridal style and went towards the car. Blood still didn't stop coming. It was scaring the hell out of him. He took him to the back seat and he also entered. One of my friends was driving the car. He started driving towards the hospital. I placed my head on Taehyung's head, still crying. My mind was full of my babies. Jungkook, babe, don't close your eyes, okay? Just hold on for some minutes. Taehyung, our baby, he said in his weak tone, which was enough to break Jungkook's heart. Then he slowly closed his eyes. Jungkook patted his cheeks. He didn't get any response. He started crying more. He was scared. He was scared that what if he leave him alone forever? Babe, don't scare me like this. Please open your eyes. Someone wake me up from this nightmare. He wanted to stay strong for his baby, but he can't control himself. Seeing his love with full of blood, he was so scared. He was scared for his love. He was scared for his unborn baby. He just cried while holding his love who is faint. After some minutes, they reached the hospital. Without wasting any time, he immediately went inside with his baby. Everyone who was present in there was shocked to see both of their clothes full of blood. Some parents covered their children's eyes not to see this horrible scene. Then some doctors and nurses came there with a stretcher. They took him inside the operation room. Jungkook just sat there while looking at the floor blankly. There were only some dried tears in his face. His tears were not coming. His eyes were puffy. His nose and cheeks were reddish color. Anyone can say he was crying while looking at his face. Then someone put his hands on his shoulder. He didn't even notice the presence beside him. He was sitting there emotionless. Then his father shook him, which made him come to reality. His dad hugged him. He also hugged him back. Jungkook didn't cry. He just hugged him. After some time, the doctor came outside of the operation room. Jungkook immediately went to the doctor and asked him, Jungkook, doctor, how is my baby? He is fine, right? Doctor, your husband is fine. Jungkook, but what? What about my baby? Doctor sighed sadly and said, Doctor, Mr. John, we couldn't save the baby. Because of the excess loss of blood, we couldn't save your child. It took him some seconds to understand what doctor said. Doctor went to his parents and said, Doctor, you both have to take care of both of them. They both are mentally disturbed. Show them your care and love towards them. Only that can cure them, and also you can meet the patient but don't give him any kind of stress. Then the doctor went from there. Miss John was smoking internally. Then they went towards Jungkook, who was standing there lifelessly. Mr. John immediately hugged him. He also hugged him back and cried. He cried while saying, Appa, I told him that I would protect both of my babies, but I couldn't even do that properly. We lost our baby because of me. I shouldn't have left him there. I'm such a horrible husband. even protect his family. He cried his heart out on his father's embrace. Mr. John was trying hard not to cry. He knew that he should stay strong for his son and son-in-law. Mrs. John was also seeing this. She started feeling a little guilty for what she did. Mr. John, no, Jungkook, you are the best husband he could ever ask for. You have to stay strong for Taehyung. Don't cry in front of him, okay? He will be more broken when he sees you crying. Now let's go and meet Taehyung. Jungkook immediately stood up and wiped his tears and walked towards Taehyung's room with his dad. When he entered the room, he saw Taehyung lying on the bed with so many wires connected to him. His eyes started to get teary, but he controlled himself. He knew that he had to stay strong for his baby. Then he made his way towards Taehyung and sat beside him. He kissed Taehyung's forehead with his trembling lips. Then he took his hands in his hands and caressed it. Then he stared at his weak face. After some time, Tae slowly started getting his conscience. Then he looked at Jungkook, who was already looking at him with a worried expression. Tae smiled weakly to him. Jungkook helped him to sit down. Then Tae slowly started remembering the things happened in their house. Then he asked Jungkook, Taehyung, cook, baby. Our baby is safe, right? He isn't still there, right? He said while placing his hands on his belly. Jungkook couldn't say anything. He just sat there while looking down. His tears were also flowing. Taehyung started shaking him while asking the same question, but he couldn't say anything. Taehyung started eating weakly while crying. Jungkook stood up and hugged him tightly while saying sweet words to calm him down. Then Taehyung slowly calmed down. Then Jungkook broke the hug and cupped his face and said, Jungkook, you are a strong boy, right? So you should stop crying. If we lost this baby, that doesn't mean we are not going to be parents anymore. We can try it again. So don't cry, okay? He again hugged him and caressed his back. Taehyung completely calmed down. Then they kissed for some time. Before it got heated up, they broke the kiss. Then they looked at each other for some time. Then they heard a knock on the door. They looked at the door. It was Mr. and Mrs. John. Taehyung's expression changed into an angry one. Then they were about to enter, but stopped when Taehyung shouted, Taehyung, don't even dare to enter this room. Mr. John looked at Taehyung in confusion. Appa, you can come here, but don't let her come here, he said while pointing at Mrs. John. Mr. John and Jungkook got confused and looked at Miss John, who was sweating because of nervous. Then Mr. John came and sat beside Taehyung and caressed his hair. Mr. John, what are you saying, Tae? And why are you not letting her come here? And he said something. Which left them in shock. Taehyung, she is the reason why our baby died. Jungkook, what are you saying, babe? Taehyung, I am saying the truth. I don't care if you both believe me or not. I don't want to see her face anymore. I am not coming to our house if she is going to live there. Cook, tell her to get out from here. Jungkook and his dad was super confused now, but something clicked on his mind. Jungkook, Appa, I had fixed some cameras in our home. Let's go and check that. He was about to go, but Tae held his hand and said, Tae, don't go now. Stay here with me. Jungkook smiled and laid on the bed and cuddled with him. Then that night went like that. Time skips to tomorrow evening. Jungkook was packing Taehyung's stuff, and Tae was staring at him with full of love. When Jungkook was done packing, he looked at Taehyung, who was already looking at him. He smiled and went to Taehyung. He sat in front of him and pecked his lips and his cheeks. Jungkook, don't stare at me like that, or I won't be able to control myself. Taehyung didn't say anything into him just kissed him. Jungkook smiled through the kiss and pulled him more closer. After some time, they went towards their home. When they arrived at their home, they saw Jungkook's parents were already there. Taehyung didn't mind his mom and went to his dad and sat beside him. "Mr. John, how are you? Does it hurt anywhere?" Taehyung smiled and said to him, "I'm alright, Appa. Don't need to worry about me." He smiled and turned towards Jungkook. "Mr. John, let's go and check the CCTV camera." They all went from there. Miss John was very nervous. Taehyung was feeling happy that finally they are going to see her another side which she only showed to Taehyung. They entered the room and started checking the footages. They saw all the things that she had done to Taehyung. Jungkook's face turned into red because of his anger. Their eyes filled with tears when they saw she pushed him from the stairs. Jungkook closed his eyes, feeling anger, hurt, disappointed. Then he looked at Taehyung with tears in his eyes. Taehyung immediately went to him and hugged him. Jungkook snuggled his face into his neck while sobbing. Taehyung caressed his back while saying sweet words to Jungkook, who kept saying sorry. Taehyung sighed and broke the hug and looked at Jungkook. He was still sobbing, so Taehyung kissed Jungkook to stop him from crying. And as he expected, he stopped crying and kissed him back. Then they broke the kiss and looked at Mr. John, who was still standing there in shock. They went to him and slowly shook him. He came to reality. He hugged Taehyung and said, "Mr. John, I'm sorry for how my wife behaved with you. I'm really sorry, Taehyung. Appa, you don't have to apologize. You didn't do anything to me. She is the one who did this, so don't apologize for others' mistake, okay?" He smiled and they broke the hug. Then they went downstairs. Mrs. John was already sitting on the couch. Mr. John went towards her and slapped her. As hard as he can. She held his cheeks and looked at him. Tears were visible in her eyes. "Mr. John, why did you do that, huh? What did he do to you? Now I am ashamed to call you as my wife," he shouted at her. She looked at Jungkook, who was already looking at her with anger. Taehyung was holding his hands because he knew that if he let go, he will do something to his mom. Mr. John was continuously shouting at her. Now she had enough of this. She cut him off by shouting, "Mrs. John, you are shouting at me for that slut? You even slapped me. Did you ever raise your voice against me? This is all your fault, you Kim Taehyung." She turned towards Taehyung. "Mrs. John, you know what? I felt relieved when I heard that you lost your baby. But I feel sorry for that baby. That baby was destined to be in your womb. I'm sure that even if that baby born, he or she will feel disgusted to have a gold digger mother like you. You know what? You are a bitch. I wished that you will also die after you fell down from the stairs, so my son will marry a better person." All of her words was stabbing straightly in his heart. He was already trying to forget the pain of the loss that happened yesterday, but now after hearing her words, he felt like killing himself. He closed his eyes, feeling hurt, pain. Taehyung squeezed Jungkook's hand, which he was holding. Jungkook was already angry on her for what she did to his babies. Now after hearing this, he completely lost his. He shouted, "Jungkook, that's enough, Miss John." Miss John was shocked when he called her Mrs. John instead of Moon. Jungkook, you have no rights to talk about my family like that. Appa, take her from here before I lose my control and do something. He turned around to go but stopped and said, "Jungkook, from now on I only have a father. I don't have any mother." Then he went towards their room, leaving Mrs. Jeon completely shocked. She was about to go behind them, but Mr. Jeon stopped her and said, "Mr. Jeon, where are you going? To destroy them again? I won't let you do that." Mrs. Jeon, "What? Didn't you hear what he said? I have to go to him." Mr. Jeon, "Don't even dare to go near them. You are the reason why they are broken. Don't make them more broken," he said and let go of her. She just sat down there while looking down. Meanwhile, 𝚘𝚘𝚗 was cuddling on the bed, while 𝚘𝚘𝚗 was crying in his embrace. His sobbing and sniffing was only heard in their room. Jungkook hugged him tightly, not wanting to let go of him. He was patting his back, saying sweet words to calm him down, but nothing was working. He was continuously crying, which also hurted Jungkook. 𝚘𝚘𝚗, am I that bad? I couldn't even protect my baby. I am the worst mother. I also wish I could have died yesterday. His words were more hurting Jungkook. Jungkook didn't want to show his broken side to him. He was controlling himself from crying. Jungkook, babe, don't say anything like that, okay? She is the one who is worst, not you. Don't cry, babe. It's hurting me more. Don't let others' words affect you. Just ignore them, okay? Now be a good boy and stop crying, he said and kissed his forehead. 𝚘𝚗𝚗 calmed down and after some time he slept. Jungkook carefully got up from the bed and went downstairs. When he went downstairs, he saw his parents were sitting on the couch. Jungkook went to them and sat facing them. His mother looked at him and said, "Mrs. Jeon, the thing that you said earlier, it was just a joke, right? You didn't mean it, right?" Jungkook, all of the words that I said earlier is not a joke. I don't want you as my mother, who is a monster and tried to kill her grandchild. Mrs. Jeon just looked at him with wide eyes. Jungkook, why did you do that? Why did you have to destroy our happiness? Did you got anything from that? Did he do anything to you? We lost our first baby because of you, and that pain will be always in our heart. Can you heal it? We were so happy with each other. Why do you have to destroy that? His voice cracked at the end. Mrs. Jeon had tears in her eyes. Mrs. Jeon, I'm sorry. Jungkook, do you think your sorry can bring our baby back? She just looked down. Jungkook, get out. She looked at him with confusion. Don't make me more angry. Just get out from here. She looked at Mr. Jeon. He was looking at her blankly. She didn't say anything, just went from there. While going, she stopped when she heard Mr. Jeon calling her. She looked at him with hope in her eyes. Mr. Jeon, I will send divorce papers to your house. She just looked at him. She was about to say something, but Jungkook said, You can go now from here, Mrs. Jeon. She went from there without saying anything. She was feeling guilty and regret for what she did. Jungkook just sighed and sat there. His dad went to him and patted his back. Mr. Jeon, it's okay, Jungkook. Go to 𝚘𝚗𝚗. He needs you more. Jungkook just nodded and hugged his dad and went from there. After that, Mr. Jeon gave divorce to his wife. He started living with 𝚘𝚘𝚗 as they insisted him. All of them were living happily. After some months, 𝚘𝚗𝚗 again got pregnant. Jungkook started working from home. He wanted to take good care of his husband. 𝚘𝚘𝚗 shifted their room to downstairs. He never let him do anything. 𝚘𝚗𝚗 loved this side of him. After 9 months, he gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Their family was so happy. And about Mrs. Jeon, they never saw her after that incident.